It's time for good energy, and I'm Dr. Julie, and welcome to Bodyful Day 226. We are talking about bloating in the senses, and today we are talking about the sense of hearing. And in this video, we're going to talk about how hearing is affected by the top-down component, or how bloating in its relationship to hearing is connected to the top-down component, and how we can use the bottom-up to help with gut issues. All right, let's start with the basics. Go ahead and take a deep breath in and release. On your next deep breath in, you're going to breathe in and expand in the belly, expand in the chest, and expand through the sinuses. And as you do that, you're going to feel yourself you're going to feel your pelvis just release just a little bit backwards, and then you'll let go. So go ahead and take a deep breath in and release. And because we're because we're breathing, because we're covering bloating and the senses, we are going to breathe into, let's see, we did least favorite food. What else causes bloating? What I would want you to breathe into is, since we're talking about hearing, your most obnoxious noise, and how breathe into that. So go ahead and take a deep breath in and release. All right, so today we're at a slightly different angle because I'm trying this. The sun is hitting at a different angle, and I didn't want to have the reflection or the shadow of the stand on me, and so I'm trying a different angle. It's a little odd, but we'll see what I can do. But today we're going to talk about, we're on day 3 of bloating in the senses, and we're talking about the sense of hearing. Remember, our goal through all of this is to use the healing equation to improve our system. In this case, it's energy to reduce bloating, or to have a happy gut, equals good energy and minus stressors. And today we're talking about the sense of hearing, and throughout this, on day 1, day 2, today, we've talked about the interaction of the bottom up versus the top down. And in fact, that's been a continuous theme as we've been talking about whatever we've been talking about and the senses. So right now we're talking about how hearing can be good energy and a stressor. We're going to start with the most obvious one, because we're going to start with how hearing can be a stressor. Now, hearing in and of itself, what we hear most of the time is not stressful, and should not then be related to the brain and cause a gut-brain axis. Now, we've talked about that there are some sounds that can cause an immediate pain signal to the brain, which would then affect the gut. We've talked about loud sounds, screams, sirens going off, fire alarms, smoke alarms going off, things like that can be intense, can cause the brain to automatically shift, because it is working on how that information is coming into the ear. And remember that the nervous system will shrink the muscles in the ear so that your bones in your ear canal are not pushing up against the eardrum or up against the cochlea, so that there is less vibration. And so there are some sounds that can cause that nervous system to shrink, to tighten up those muscles so that you don't have so much sense or auditory input. And then those are going to be an immediate bottom-up pain response, which the brain is going to say, alarm! I just got done watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, the third one, with Sean Connery, and when they go around in the secret door that's in the chimney, when Harrison and when Indy and his dad go around in the little Lazy Susan that's inside the chimney, and they're in the communication room, and the female communication expert yells, "Alarm! Alarm!" alarm when she sees them. That's kind of what I imagine your brain is doing. Your brain is yelling, alarm! And because of the gut-brain connection, we know that that stress is going to tell the brain, hey, there's something going on. We need to start ramping up our ability. And in ramping up our ability to flee from stress, freeze, flee, fight from stress, our body says, let's let go of the guts. Let's just kind of close that system off. Or either let it go or close it off so we don't have to deal with it. And in doing that, you don't get to digest your food, which means it's going to sit there and bloat. So without digestion, without proper nourishment, without proper blood flow in there that helps the digestive process, you are going to get bloating when you have loud noises around you, either bloating or instant need to run to the bathroom. So that is a bottom-up component of stress related to hearing. Now, bottom-up component of hearing related to good energy in, we've already talked about these. Particular tones, particular sounds. If you are an asthma person, we've talked about how ripping paper can be pleasurable. We've talked about how whispering in a microphone can be pleasurable. That is a sound that will trip the brain into sending the top-down component of relaxation and increase the serotonin production in your gut, which will be pleasing and reduce your bloating. Now, that's bottom up. We also talked about top down. And we've talked about this a little bit back when we talked about adaptation, that if you are in a work environment, a life environment where what is said to you is not always positive or said in the most positive tone, that intonation, that intoning of speech starts out as not actually carrying anything, but because the message through body language, through how it's delivered, through the other information that comes in, that intonation then takes on an emotional component. And that emotional component then causes the brain to say, hey, what's being told to you is negative, so I'm going to put you into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And in doing so, you do not digest your food as well. So you are going to experience bloating with top-down emotional information coming in, even if you don't get the message, like you screwed up something and your boss is yelling at you, but for some reason you don't hear it, the message, the actual words, the intonation of that message, that being yelled at, that sarcasm, that teasing, whatever, is going to come in and is going to affect the brain. The brain is then going to affect the gut. The gut is not going to digest food as much, and you are going to end up with bloating. So if you are going to work, if you, interesting thing to think about as we move into holiday season, if going home or going out with friends, you always end up with gut bloat and gut issues afterwards, it could be because the people who you are with have an intonation that you have learned is not good. The solution to that, there are a number of different solutions. One is to confront the issue. One is to not go there because you realize that is stressful. That is interesting because there is a connection, a learned connection between that intonation and how the gut responds. So bloating can be driven by auditory. Now, just the same way, that top-down connection can also give us good energy in. So the intonation of praise, the intonation of prayer and chant, the intonation of meditation, the intonation of things like that carry with them good energy in. So if bloating is an issue, You may find that when you go home, when you drive home from these events, whether it be driving home from work, driving home from a family event, driving home from visiting friends, whatever, and you notice that the bloat is coming up, you may just start vocalizing. You know, a sigh, or really loud low notes. But I kind of like the whole sigh because you can just figure out what sound makes you feel best. And you may get down to the bottom and go, no, didn't find it. So I'm going to do it again and again until you find that tone that just says, that you're just like, you know what? That is a beautiful tone. It rings true in my belly. And different tones, cool as it is, can ring true in different parts of your body. So if you are looking for a tone that helps with your gut, sigh and look for where it feels good here. Sigh if you're looking for something to strengthen your heart or your lungs. Sigh and look for a sound that just feels good here when you go, and you're like, you know what, that feels really good right here. I'm just gonna hang out here. And you can also find a tone for the top of your head. So if you've got sinus congestion, you know, and just find the note that you land on that feels good in those places. You can sigh, you can sing, you can use tones and sound generated by yourself to enhance the good energy in. And that is a bottom up, but also a little bit of a top down component. All right, I hope there are more of you sighing out there on your way home from contentious family meals than there were before. All right, join me tomorrow when we talk about a new sense and relate it back to bloating. And until then, take care. Let's finish off with a deep breath in. And just for good measure, sigh. Have a good day. I'll see ya.